Today, let's dig into a highly rated soccer anime, Aoi. The story begins with a tough prefectural tournament featuring a junior high student named Aoi Ashito. With his exceptional soccer skills, he performs a hat trick to help his team tie the game. However, just when it seemed they might win, Aoi suddenly loses control and headbutts the opposing goalkeeper, shocking everyone present. This act not only gets him sent off by the referee, but indirectly causes his team to lose the match and costs Aoi his recommendation for high school. After the match, Aoi goes for a long run to cope with his mixed emotions, showcasing his incredible stamina. The bearded man tries to get Aoi to stop and chat, but as soon as Aoi stops, he collapses from exhaustion right into the man's arms. This triggers a flashback. Aoi has loved playing soccer since childhood, but was often rejected by youth clubs for his reckless style. After moving to a small town with his mother, he joins the school soccer team. At the team's welcome party, he boldly claims to be the reincarnation of Ronaldo at his peak, telling the coach that he doesn't need tactics because he is the tactic. Aoi's words shock the coach, but his teammates accept him, comparing him to a manga protagonist. For the first time, Aoi is truly accepted and begins to enjoy playing soccer with his teammates. Yet, his emotions once again lead to a team loss. After reminiscing, Aoi wakes up to find himself lying by the roadside, hearing the sound of a soccer ball nearby. He goes to investigate and is amazed by the bearded man's incredible soccer skills. Aoi eagerly asks who the man is. The bearded man doesn't reveal his identity, but offers to teach Aoi some tricks. Despite recognizing the cliché, Aoi can't resist and begins to learn from him. The man teaches Aoi that upon receiving the ball, his navel should face the direction he wants to run, and to ensure he has a good view, he should control his body positioning when stopping the ball, then run and shoot accurately. This technique is called designated direction ball stopping. To help Aoi master it quickly, the bearded man draws circles in the sand as targets for practice. As they practice into the night, Aoi's teammates and family begin searching for him, worried about his absence. Just as they're about to leave to look for him, the goalkeeper Aoi headbutted shows up at their door with his parents to apologize. It turns out Aoi lost control during the match because the goalkeeper had insulted his teammates and his mother, calling her a bar hostess. Back on the beach, Aoi still struggles with the designated direction ball stopping. The bearded man considers giving up, but before leaving, he wants to know why Aoi was able to score goals from rebounds during the match. Aoi uses a coin to explain that it's partly because his teammates trust him deeply, never giving up on passing the ball, and partly because he knows every player's position on the field. Surprised, the bearded man realizes that Aoi can remember the positions of all 22 players on the field. He decides to take a moment alone to think, but ends up falling asleep. The next day, the bearded man, who is the head coach of the Tokyo West Football Club youth team, wakes up to the sound of a dog barking and finds Aoi, who has practiced all night and mastered the technique. Impressed, he extends an invitation to Aoi to try out for the team. Aoi's mother soon learns of this, but hopes Aoi will give up the idea of joining the team due to their financial situation and her concerns about him going to Tokyo alone. However, Aoi's brother supports him and investigates the bearded man, discovering he is the former national team midfielder, Tatsuya Fukuda, a genuine soccer prodigy who entered the J1 League at 18 and started consistently at 20 before transferring to a top-tier team in the Spanish La Liga, only to retire due to a severe injury. Aoi's brother uses his savings to encourage Aoi to set aside reality and participate in the tryouts, giving Aoi a new goal in his soccer career. Inspired by Fukuda's words, "Come to the tryouts, and I'll take you to the world," Aoi decides to attend the youth team selection. But upon arriving, he collides with a beautiful girl, forming a classic anime encounter that hints she might just be a crucial character, reminiscent of Platelet from Cells at Work. The female protagonist, named Oka, is the younger sister of Coach Fukuda. In her spare time, she often comes to help her brother. Oka leads Aoi Ashito into the stadium, but she cannot understand what her brother sees in Aoi. After all, the other players attending the tryouts all come from prestigious soccer schools, while Aoi didn't even make it to the top 4 in Ehime Prefecture. Soon, all the players gathered, and Coach Fukuda came online to tell everyone that the destiny of professional soccer involves clubs poaching players from each other. But it's hard to guarantee that all these players meet expectations. His philosophy is to train his own players from a young age, which not only helps develop teamwork, but also allows him to better understand the players' abilities and personalities. However, the youth team tryouts are very challenging. Most of the players from the last session were promoted from the junior team, with only one making it through the tryouts. Moreover, among the 86 players attending this session, there isn't a single genius who could be directly recruited. Hearing this, a sense of dissatisfaction starts to emerge among the 86 players. Aoi finally realizes that if he doesn't make it through the tryouts, he'll have to go home empty-handed. After all, the youth team is not about nurturing talent. Its purpose is to select the strongest. The first physical test starts soon, and a young man named Utomo approaches Aoi. Seeing Aoi's trembling hands, Utomo thinks Aoi is nervous like him, but Aoi tells him he's actually excited to face strong opponents. This perplexes Utomo, who has never before encountered the protagonist's passive skill. The stronger the enemy, the more thrilled. Next is a 20-minute 7v7 mini-match. The grouping is very unfavorable for Aoi's side, with almost all the players from well-known schools. Aoi doesn't care. He launches an aggressive attack, but without his teammates' super trusted passes, his attacks falter and are even perceived as showboating by Utomo and others. Since it's their first time playing together, there is no trust or synergy, making the team disjointed. In reality, Coach Fukuda is not just looking for physical skills or technique, but the player's ability to think. Soon, Aoi figures out that he used to play freely because his teammates always supported him. Now, it's his turn to support his teammates, especially since he realizes that his team is not weak. With this realization, Aoi activates a God view, seeing everyone's position on the field. Fukuda notices Aoi's overview buff and gets very excited. Aoi then receives the ball and drops back to his own half, almost to the defensive line, confusing everyone and seeming like a sure path to failure. With only 5 minutes left in the match, two opponents tightly mark Aoi, eager to steal the ball. However, Oka notices something unusual. She sees an uncontrollable excitement in her brother, reminiscent of his own brilliant long passes during crucial game moments. Suddenly, Aoi breaks away with the ball and runs towards his own goal. Utomo sees this and instinctively calls his teammate Kaneda to start moving. Together, Aoi and Kaneda execute a beautiful long pass, with Kaneda not wasting the opportunity and scoring with a header. After the game, the coaching staff engages in a heated discussion about the players to be selected. Utomo, who was vocal when the team was at a disadvantage, is affirmed by the coaches. He had anticipated the players he might be teamed with in the mini-match and had communicated with them beforehand, easily passing the selection. Aoi, however, is the most controversial. His strategy of drawing in the opponents to exploit a brief lapse for the best assist of the match was brilliant, but his poor performance in the first half leaves the coaches conflicted. Meanwhile, Oka asks Aoi if his last move was just a fluke. Aoi isn't sure what happened. He just looked around the field, and his body naturally moved. Oka breathes a sigh of relief. She had almost thought Aoi was on the same level as her brother, but based on Aoi's description, his actions were more instinctive, while Fukuda's were the result of continuous thought. Two very different approaches. Finally, the coaches announced the selected players. Out of 86, only 11 remain, and the last spot goes to Aoi. Understandable, since he is the protagonist after all. However, this does not mean the selection process is over. In 30 minutes, the final assessment is about to begin. Upon hearing this news, Aoi Ashito quickly realizes that the 11 of them might be temporarily grouped together to face another team. Utomo, nervous to the point of feeling sick, is the first to respond. The next second, Kaneda and others gather around Aoi to start discussing. After communicating, Aoi truly understands the importance of this test. If they fail, their future in professional soccer will be out of reach, which is why everyone is so eager to seize this last lifeline. Take Tachibana, for example, whose team had planned to promote him to the youth team, but in reality he had stopped growing as a player years ago. Because he was too comfortable in his familiar club, he had become dependent and lost his competitive edge. Therefore, he came here to start over and leave behind his complacent self. However, the path is not easy. Fukuda has arranged for them to face the current youth team, which sends shivers down the competitors' spines. Overcoming such a team sounds impressive, but the difficulty is exceptionally high, since the professional youth team's skills far surpass those of average high school players. Despite this, Aoi is not intimidated and is eager to compete. But Fukuda does not rush to start the match. Instead, he calmly informs the participants that he will announce something during the match. Soon after, Aoi and the others have assigned their roles, and Aoi, cheerful and unaware, does not realize he has become a target. The match starts sooner than expected, and surprisingly, the youth team is easily breached by Aoi and his teammates, not showing the high level expected. Could the renowned youth team be this weak? Everyone is puzzled, but then suddenly, the opponent transforms. Their passes become frighteningly precise, and with minimal dribbling, the ball is quickly pushed forward. OK is shocked, but Fukuda immediately explains that this is due to their high positional sense, passing skills, and spatial calculation ability. They can perfectly envision the same scoring routes. Despite this, Aoi does not give up. He uses the designated direction ball stopping he just learned to make a steal, but Akutsu captures his ball in midair and shoots directly, ending the first half. Akutsu perfectly predicts where Aoi will stop the ball, and before Aoi can react, Akutsu mocks him for his worn shoes and lack of talent. Akutsu, with his skill and taunts, makes Aoi start to doubt himself. No wonder Akutsu was the only one who passed last year's selection and became a mainstay on the youth team as a freshman. At this point, Aoi's teammates are demoralized, completely losing any desire to discuss tactics for the second half. Fortunately, Utomo steps up just in time to rally the disheartened players. As the second half begins, the youth team does not continue with the complex one-touch passing, but plays more practically. Aoi, however, regains his spirit and tries to challenge Akutsu for the ball, but hits what feels like a wall, achieving nothing. Even so, Aoi does not get discouraged. As a free kick is about to be taken, he fervently encourages his teammates. Unexpectedly, Akutsu uses a foul tactic by hitting Aoi hard in the chest as he falls, nearly knocking the wind out of him. But this only fuels Aoi's determination. "Help me out, senior. I can't just lie down here," Aoi thinks to himself, refusing to follow the usual route and nearly driving Akutsu mad. Then, suddenly, Fukuda steps forward and drops a bombshell. He had placed restrictions on the youth team by making every player, except the goalkeeper, play positions they had never tried before. With only 10 minutes left in the game, Fukuda's revelation feels like the final straw, causing Kaneda and the others to collapse, their eyes vacant and their skills off, not even knowing what to do anymore. At this moment, Aoi also feels overwhelmed. He wants to go back to playing soccer casually with his friends. But accidentally, he locks eyes with Fukuda. "Are you giving up? What are you giving up on?" Fukuda's challenge stirs Aoi. Imagining the scene of returning home and facing his mother and Shun's disappointed looks terrifies him more than comforting words. So, Aoi awakens, leaps up, and makes a beautiful clearance. Who's giving up?